Hi girls, we're starting a topic known as orthographic projection. An orthographic projection is where you're given a 3D object and you have to change the 3D object into 2D by drawing an elevation, an end elevation and a plan. You have seen a little bit of this before Christmas. You've seen another little bit of it doing developments in which you had to draw the elevation, end elevation or plan. The difficulty that you would have had is where to put it and position it on the sheet. You would have kind of placed it anywhere. But there are specific places where these things need to go on the page. With this object, you can see I've color coded it. In the direction of A, which is pointing to the left, I've colored in what I can see. In the direction of B, I've colored in everything I can see in two different colors because there's two different surfaces. You can use the same color if you like. And in direction C, which is looking down on top of the object, I've colored each surface again. The measurements that are given on this sheet are really important. It means the overall block is 75 wide, it can be no bigger, and it's 50 tall. It's also 50 wide, and it can't go beyond those measurements. When it comes to doing this on the page, you're going to pick a place to start. From your page, you can measure down around 100, and you're going to draw your ground line lightly with your 2H pencil. You're going to use the measurements. So A, which is this red L block, is pointing left. And that's why I'm putting that on the left hand side of my page. So this dot that is here is this corner on the page. I'm now going to measure 75 wide because that's how wide it is. And then split it up into 50 and 25. Okay, as you can see there. So I'm going to measure 75. And then I'm going to split it up into 50 and 25 because that's what gets the shape of the L. At each of those points, I'm going to draw a vertical line, but also the heights, it can't go beyond 50, and the 50 is split up into two 25s. So I'm going to create the grid, the two 25s. I'm going to do vertical lines at each of the points in the base. I'm going to do horizontal lines at both of the 25s. The grid is complete now, and you should be able to see the L block. You can now draw it in heavy. That is the elevation complete. So in the direction of A, it gives you the most information of the object. This is an L block or a set of steps, whatever you prefer to call it. And what I need to do now is I need to locate the plan, which is looking down at C, and I need to locate the end view, which is looking in at B. Positioning is so important. Underneath the elevation always goes the plan. So I'm going to transfer all of these widths down. Now, you need to leave a gap between your first drawing and your second drawing. The gap it's saying here is 30, but it doesn't need to be 30. It could be 10, it could be 20, 30, 40, 50. It doesn't matter. But obviously, the bigger the gap, the further it pushes down the object and it might not fit in your page. So whatever you do, you just need to pick a measurement. It doesn't need to be anything in particular. You don't even need to measure it. As long as you leave a gap between the first drawing and the second drawing. It's recommending 30. As you can see, when you look down at C, the width of the whole box is 50. And that's where that 50 comes from. So you tick off two little points. You're then going to bring down all of the other widths from the elevation. Because we know it's 50 and 25, and we've already measured those 50 and 25, so we're just going to bring them down and bring the 50 out to meet it and create our grid for a second time. You can now see the plan has come into the focus. So the white box is here and that blue box is just on top. That is the plan complete. And finally, the end view. Leave a little bit of a gap. It can be 20, 30, 40, I don't know what happened there. It all kind of went downhill. Okay, leave a little bit of a gap. It's recommending 20, doesn't really matter. And you're going to bring the two outside points out to that 20mm line. Think of it as a vertical XY line. And at it, you're going to use your 45-degree set square to transfer each of those points up. We're now going to draw the end view. which is looking in here. The width of it is 50, which I've transferred. This width is 50. The height of it has to be 50, which I have over here. So I'm just going to transfer these over and those 2 points up, and I'll create my grid for the third time. Okay, at this stage, you should see your elevation, your plan, and your end view come into focus. Okay, so that is that question. I'm going to now do the exact same question on the drawing board, just as you will see it, just to ensure you know how to slide your set squares and so on, that you're doing it accurately. So you need to do this also. I'm just going to zoom out because I zoomed in so you could see the actual question sheet. But on your page, this is what you should do. Light pencil for the moment, and you're going to draw with your T-square a horizontal line. This is going to be your XY line. Okay. Pick a place to start. Doesn't really matter. And we're measuring that 75, which is divided up into 50 and 25. At each of those points, so I now have 3 points, I'm going to do vertical lines. You can see I'm extending the vertical lines because I'm anticipating that I'm going to have to do a plan, and I'm going to transfer these widths anyways. So why not do it at the one time? Okay, the elevation was a height of 50 and it was split up into 2 25s. Okay, so I'm measuring the 50 and I'm measuring the 25. So I have 25 and 25. I'm bringing these 2 points across, and you should see your grid now. In order to do the elevation, you can now get your heavy pencil, and remember, you're working from the top down. So draw the first heavy line going across, the second heavy line going across, and then the third heavy line going across, and then you can do the vertical lines and work from left to right. The first one, the second one, and finally the third one. Okay, there's the elevation done. We're going to leave a little bit of a gap. It doesn't really matter, you don't have to measure it. So as you can see, I am not measuring it. I've left a bit of a gap. The plan is 50 wide. Measure the 50. Okay, and you can see my grid in place there. I can actually now draw my plan in heavy. So you can do the vertical lines working left to right. And then also do the horizontal lines from top to bottom. Okay, finally, we're going to do our end view. And with our end view, we're going to transfer the points up at 45 degrees. In the example, it left a little bit of a gap and then it did the 45 degrees. That's not necessary. So see the 2 end points here. I know that distance is 50. You can transfer, I'm going to use my light pencil, up at 45 degrees. So using your 45 degree set square, you get 2 points on the ground line that you're going to transfer vertically up. The whole reasoning behind the positioning of this is that you only have to do most of the measurements once, that you're not repeating all of them. So I'm transferring the 25 rather than measuring it again, transferring the 50 rather than measuring it again, and you should see your grid come into the focus, in which case you can then draw your shape. Working left to right and then top to bottom with your heavy lines. Okay, so this is orthographic in a nutshell. We have an elevation, an end elevation, and a plan. It's good practice to label these. So you know yourself, once you've done your border, that the text box or the title blocks are around 4 millimeters in thickness. So you can just do that now, similar to what it has done earlier on. So I'm going to measure the 4 millimeter text box. For each one. And you know at this stage that you're writing in capital letters. This view is known as the end view or end elevation. And then finally, the one looking down is known as a plan. You would have heard of plans of drawings, which are used in houses. They're known as the plans, and that's when you're looking down on the top of a house. So this is the question complete. It's your example. You should complete it too. I am going to send on 2 more questions for you to try. They might fit, if you have stuck together 2 A4 sheets, you'll probably fit the other one on the one page, and then you can turn over and do the other question. So the 2 questions you will submit to me so I can correct them, or and actually the next day I'll put up the solutions for you. So I'll video the solutions and you can see how they're actually completed. Is that all right? So well done. Join me live. So you're going to finish this off once we've gone on to the live class, and we're good to go. So see you in the live class.